All right. So, our topic for today is why you feel hungry all the time. I'd first love to know, does this resonate with you? Have you ever felt like you were hungry all the time, or you feel like no matter how much you eat, it is a never ending hole and you just want more, more, more? That's what we're going to be talking about. So, who has ever felt this before? You can type in the chat, feel free to unmute. And if this has happened to you before, do you know why? Do you know why you felt really hungry? Or do you know why you feel like you felt like there was a never-ending hole of hunger? All right, I'm going to keep moving on, but if you guys have any responses, just put them in the chat or feel free to unmute and pause me. Again, the more interactive you are, the more you are going to learn from this today. So, when we think about what hunger is not a bad thing. It is just a physical cue from our body. Marge, you said you have it and it was usually during times of stress, right? Good. This is one of the reasons we're going to be talking about if you feel like you are stressed and you just want to eat, eat, eat.
I struggle with knowing what my hunger, like I usually wait a long time till my stomach rumbles and I think that that's hunger.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise I usually don't feel very hungry very often because I
Mm-hmm.
usually I snack a lot, so it's not like very often feel hungry. I
Mm-hmm.
recognize the feeling from long ago when I was way too skinny, but rarely anymore,
Mm-hmm.
to
Good.
be
So you
honest.
might be on the other side where you feel like
Yeah.
you're never hungry, where it just, because you're snacking a lot, you never get that full, strong sensation of hunger. Which, yes, I think this would still be relevant. You can think about, especially there's a last point here where we're thinking about hunger as a thought versus a physical sensation. But yeah, noticing too, for you, it might be on the other side where it's like, okay, I know that because my body is never getting hungry, I'm not actually able to feel this physical cue. And this physical cue is just that, right? It's just the way that our body lets us know what we are feeling and what we need. So, learning how to listen to your hunger is a key foundation of being an intuitive natural eater. If you're not listening to your hunger and fullness, we're not really listening to our body. So, it's something we want to learn and master. And when you know your hunger and what it's like and you're listening to honoring it, I like to think about that as a superpower because you are learning to trust your body and do something that unfortunately a lot of people are not doing nowadays. Okay, so we're going to go into some reasons why you might be hungry all day. The first one being you are recovering from dieting and restriction. So, if you have had a period of time where you have eaten very little calories, you've been dieting, you have been overly hungry for a while, or you've been trying to cut out a lot of food, you are probably going to have this backlash of a lot of true physical hunger. This is not because your brain and body are trying to sabotage your goals and weight loss efforts, but because your body is trying to keep you alive. Our bodies are so much smarter than we could ever imagine, and they're always looking out for us. So, our hunger is a good sign that our body is trying to make sure we don't die. So, when I was going through my recovery journey, I remember after extreme calorie restriction, after all this time, I wanted to eat lots and lots of food because my body was saying, "Hey, you've only been eating 1,200 calories a day, you need more." So this will start to level out over time. The more you are able to tune into your body, to start to refuel yourself, to move away from that dieting mindset, I promise you it will not be that strong forever. But in the initial stages, it is normal to have this backlash. Just like if you were to go out for the day and you felt really hungry, sorry, really thirsty. You felt really thirsty. You were out all day. You got back home and you were drinking some water. You'd probably drink a lot of water at first. You'd be chugging it down. You would be really thirsty. And we don't make that a problem. We think, of course, we're really thirsty right now. We haven't had water in a long time. Same thing happens with our body when we don't have a lot of food. Now, a big mistake I see happening is people freaking out about eating more after this period of restrictive dieting. And so they keep trying to go back to the diet. They keep saying, well, I need to just keep restricting. I need to go back to this. And that keeps you in the diet binge cycle where then you're not getting enough food. And then your body sends out strong urges to binge. And we get caught in this loop. So has anyone ever seen this happen before where you have been dieting and you've had this extreme hunger after where you just feel like you can't stop eating? Yeah, I see you guys nodding some head. You're welcome to put your experience in the chat. Mary, thumbs up. Yes.
Yes, I know that. So even if one day I eat less, then the next day I'm more hungry. So just if I eat too little calories, then the next day I'm more hungry every
Right.
time. Yes.
Exactly. Again, it makes sense, right? Like this is our body trying to protect us. It's trying to help us to make sure we are staying alive. So we need to recognize that to see, oh, the dieting isn't going to work. We're just going to end up with this extreme biological hunger and we're going to want to keep eating, eating, eating.
Yes.
Okay, so then after kind of going along with that, the dieting restricting, we're going to talk about if you are really hungry all the time, you might just need to eat more food. No one wants to hear this, but it's true. If you feel like you are obsessing over food all day and you're thinking about it all the time, probably the first thing we want to look at is, are you eating enough? Diets tend to distort your idea of what a normal portion is. I see so many women who come to me and I am telling them, you are definitely eating too little, but they don't think they are because they have been taught by diets, oh, I need to eat these little baby portions and I can only have little bites of this. And then they end up inevitably overly hungry. So I want you to question if you have done these diets before that have taught you to only eat these little amounts. You might need more food. I personally eat a lot more at my meals now than I did in my dieting days, but I am actually eating less overall because instead of eating little portions and having a giant binge of thousands of calories, I'm now just eating more at my meals and I don't have those binges. So it's spaced out in a way that actually is more helpful for my body. So with that too, having more food, I also want to pay attention to when you're having this food. If you are having all of your food in the later half of the day, in the late afternoon and evening, I want you to think about starting to get more food in earlier. Having a breakfast, having a true lunch, and not just having a coffee and a protein bar until you get home from work, because this is going to make it harder for your body to get in the necessary calories it needs. So making sure your meals are evenly spaced out for the day, getting in some breakfast. You don't have to have a ginormous breakfast, but just getting in something for sure that is balanced. So that's another thing we want to look at, our food quality. Are you having all 4 things at every meal? Fat, protein, carbs, and fiber. If you are not having all 4 of those things at pretty much every meal, we doesn't have to be perfect, but that's something we want to look at. All 4 of these are essential for satisfaction and for fullness. So fat, protein, carbs, yes, carbs too. And I say fiber in the form of fruit or vegetable. You can have some beans in there, some whole grains. But even carbs, because if you're just eating these filling foods of just plain vegetables with no oil and just chicken on the side, right? You're not getting this vital nutrient of carbohydrates. Our bodies need carbs. It is its preferred energy source. If you do not get enough carbs, your body will ask for them and you will get extreme cravings for them because it is a necessary nutrient. Our body likes to have carbs for energy, for fuel, for satisfaction. So making sure you're getting carbs in at your meals too. Are you guys doing that? I'm curious. Do you feel like you're getting in the fat, the protein, the carbs, and fiber at every meal?
I want to add or ask,
Mhm.
because when you say carbs, it's so broad.
Mhm.
Sometimes I get the carbs in through like bananas, because that's also carbs,
Yeah.
but then that's a fiber as well. I'm doing it right if I'm just eating a banana as well, right? It doesn't have to be both a banana and a bread.
Yes, you're still getting in some
Correct.
carbs. So
Okay,
even though
good.
carb is, good question, like a
Yeah.
fiber source too, as long as we're getting it within the meal, it's fine. So something
Starchy.
like, yogurt can often be a protein, a fat, and a carb, right? That's something I remember. I actually looked this up one day. We're having a debate at the dinner table if any food has all 3 macronutrients. I don't think it has a fiber in it, but if you add something to it, maybe it does. But yeah, if you have something like yogurt and you're getting those 3 in, you don't have to add any more on. Although you might want to add some more carbs on if it's not, if the yogurt doesn't have anything in it. But yeah, having just something in some way during that time. Marge, not always. I think I often lack good fats. Yeah, so exploring that. And again, I know it can be sometimes scary to add in food. I know this isn't always something that comes easily and naturally where we're adding in more fats, but we want to think about not just what we're adding in, but how we're going to benefit from that. So maybe just adding in an extra serving of olive oil at your meals, that might help you so you feel more full and satisfied, and then you don't feel the need to snack so much in the afternoon. So maybe by adding in those extra 100 or so calories, you save yourself 300 calories later on because you're not having those strong cravings and you're more full and satisfied. And same thing with a binge. It's like if you were to have a bigger dinner, maybe it feels a little scary to have that extra food and you might feel a little bit extra full at first, but if that prevents a late night binge, totally worth it. So the next things we want to consider are some of these biological factors: sleep, stress, and any medications. This we're not going to go into too in depth into today, but there are something to be considered. Now, with stress, that can be something that people either go one of 2 ways with. I usually find if people have like a moderate level of stress, they want to eat more. But if they have an extreme level of stress, then they tend to lose their appetite and they don't want to eat at all. So that's what tends to happen with our stress. But just noticing, even if you feel stressed and you want to eat more, you don't actually need more food just because you're stressed, right? Your body biologically did not increase its energy intake by 500 calories for the day and needs more food. So just recognizing that if you're stressed, there's some biological processes going on hand, but that is more of a mental desire for food versus a true physical thing. Same thing with sleep. If you don't get a lot of sleep one night, you might feel more physically hungry. And, sleep is one where if you're actually staying up later, your body might be burning a bit more calories and it's awake, which is in a higher calorie state than when we are asleep. So you might need a little bit more food, but it's not going to be anything drastic. Again, we're not going to need like another giant meal in the day just because we didn't sleep well last night. So we just want to be aware of that when our brain's telling us more during the day of, oh, I know this is just because I'm tired. We can use how we normally as a reference for how we want to be eating for that day and not let our brain go overdrive. Same thing with medications. If you're on a medication that increases your hunger, just knowing, again, there's not that true necessary biological need for that extra food. So it's having to sit with that a little bit of extra desire that may be coming from the medication. And you might have to stop a little bit before a true fullness signal in order to have the proper amount for your body and not more than you need. So those are things that are more on like an individual case by case basis, but you do want to think about those things can be factors in your hunger. Okay, so the last reason you might be hungry all day is because you think you are hungry, because you imagine you are hungry, not because you are actually hungry. So sometimes people come to me and say, but I'm just hungry all day long. But what they are describing is not their physical sensation of hunger, but these urges and desires that are coming up all day long. So hunger is not a thought. Hunger is a physical sensation. We do not think we are hungry. We feel we are hungry. It is a feeling that happens in our body. And there can be various feelings. It's not always something that happens just in our stomach. Sometimes people feel it a little bit more in their throat or chest, or they feel a little tired, a little nauseous, a little dizzy, hopefully not too dizzy, but we feel hunger certain ways, but it's always a physical sensation. If you just say, well, I think I'm hungry, I think I want food, you are not hungry. You are having a craving or an urge for food. And we need to stop telling ourselves that we are hungry when we are having an urge, because this will make your intuitive eating journey and processes a lot more complicated. You're going to confuse yourself a lot if you're telling yourself I'm hungry all the time when you're really not, but you're just thinking about food all the time. So make sure you are telling yourself the truth. If you are hungry all the time, you're feeling something physically in your body. Okay, we can figure that out. We can figure out what we need to do to change that. But if you really aren't truly physically hungry, you don't have any sensations happening in your body, and you're just imagining and you're pretending that you're hungry in your brain, we want to stop doing that and just acknowledge what's happening is we are having an urge. We are having a craving for food. And that's a different process of handling than if we are truly physically hungry. So if you are having a hard time figuring out your true hunger and fullness, listening to honoring to it, this is something I go in depth into my Confident Eater program. This is a 6-month comprehensive program. Right now I am doing one-on-one coaching. So it's you and I working together every single week for 50 minutes on a call. You get lessons and worksheets, accountability, you get unlimited tech support. So it is a really high touch, high level program that gives you everything you need to become a confident eater, to start to relearn and listen to your body signals and stop overeating. So I'm going to put the link to that in the chat. If you're interested in working with me, I have free consultation calls where you and I, we just hop on, we chat. They're pretty casual. I just get to know your eating history. You get some insights on why you're eating the way you are. So you can go to that link and book a free call with me. But now this is the part of Coffee Chats where I answer your questions. So I'd love to know, do you have any questions on this topic? Are you struggling with anything else in your eating? It doesn't have to be related to this topic, and I will give you some coaching on it. You know, it can be scary sometimes to ask for coaching, but just know everyone always benefits from it, and they probably have the same questions as you.
I'm just gonna throw one out there.
Yeah.
In my head, breakfast is so important. Eating in the early day is super important. I usually eat breakfast before I get physically hungry, because something's happening or I just need to get on with my day. Should I wait or should I do it anyways because I know that it's good for me, and then eventually I will get hungry at those times because your body's also the clock, you know?
Yeah. So
this one I'm a bit like, ooh.
How long do you have of like activities or things to do before you could eat again in the morning?
Depends. Like now during summer, it's very different, but during work days, like I start directly physically because I'm a dancer. So I start with dance directly.
Okay. Okay. So if you are going into something for a couple hours and you know you're going to be hungry during that time, I would recommend eating breakfast before, simply because I just really recommend getting something to start our body off for the day, and then you feel fueled and energized and really paying attention to how you feel. If you feel overly full and sluggish, if you eat earlier before you're hungry, then that might be a sign to either eat less or you could maybe wait to have it. But if when you eat that, even if you're not truly super physically hungry, and it leads you to feeling more energized and focused during that day, a really good sign that your body's loving that and it's good to be doing that.
Course. But if it's, for example, now during summer and schedule looks different every day, it's not like I'm working out in the morning early. Should I wait?
Yes. If you can wait, you can wait, right? So if you are able to wait it out, see what happens, right? Your body will let you know when it's hungry. It's not going to let you starve. So if it needs food, it will send you the signal to do it. So yeah, I would look at it as an experiment to see, I wonder how long it will take my body to get hungry today. Will it be 30 minutes? Will it be another 3 hours? Let's just wait and see.
Yeah.
Checking in with yourself. You don't have to check in, every 5 minutes, but just every 30 or so minutes, just a quick 5-second check-in. Where's my body at? Am I hungry? Nope. Okay, we can keep doing what I'm doing.
Because this I struggle with a bit, because then I could get a wave of a little bit of hunger for like a minute and then it's over. And then I'm like, well, I'm not hungry enough. Then I don't know what hungry enough is. And I don't know, because it passes. It comes in waves and then it passes. So where do I let myself be hungry? Because I feel like sometimes I can rationalize it too much and I get in my head like, oh, but I'm not really hungry. I struggle with a lot, to know, am I hungry or am I not? Yeah, well, I could be a little bit hungry, but am I enough hungry? Should I wait it out a bit? This I struggle with.
So I would Sorry if you guys can hear the lawnmower outside. They mow the lawn for like 4 freaking hours every Tuesday because I live in a townhome. Makes me so angry. Anyways, I would look at how long that food is lasting you. So if you feel like you are not hungry and then you can keep going, and then you eat something, but then once you start eating, you're like, oh my gosh, actually, I'm really hungry right now. And then you feel kind of frantic around it. You might have went a little too long, right? Or if you feel like, oh, I'm not really sure if I'm not hungry, if I'm hungry or not right now, and then you eat, and then that meal lasts you for like 7 hours until you're hungry again, you might have not needed it, or maybe you had a little bit too much. So I would look at what the rest of your day looks like too. And again, just get curious with it. There's no right or wrong answer. Ultimately, unfortunately, I cannot tell you what's best for your body. Only you can. And that's something you have to learn to trust and figure out, which can take some time, some practice, some messing up, some slipping up where you got it wrong one day. But it's just getting back to it and say, okay, if I got it wrong today, what did I learn from it? What new information do I now have about my body that I can use for later today or tomorrow?
Yeah.
How does that feel?
Well, I mean, yeah. In my head, that's what I tell myself. But then like when you're in it, it's so much harder. So I think I just have to stay curious and like, oh, it's just an experiment. Just stay
Yeah.
curious and like, oh, we'll figure it out on the way. But I feel like I'm too urgent to know the answer in a way, instead of letting it take time.
Yeah. Our body wants us to be healthy. Our body wants us to figure our hunger and fullness signals out. They're there for a reason.
Yeah.
So also, if you are truly overeating, you're going to get some physical sensation. You're going to feel heavy. You're not going to feel good in your stomach. You're going to feel tired. Your body will send out a signal that says, hey, you probably overate. And same thing if you undereat, right? If you're undereating a lot and you're not getting enough, your body's going to send out really strong cravings of hunger and for food. Right? So even if you feel like, I don't really know if I did it right today, I don't know if I did it right yesterday, I don't know how I'm going to do it right tomorrow, you can also take comfort in knowing that ultimately, if you're going to the extremes of your body's getting too hungry or you're getting too full, it will send you signals to let you know that. It will give you some sort of cue to tell you. Lily, what about food aversion? Sometimes my body just rejects food and doesn't want to eat it. So tell me a little bit more about that. Is it you don't like that type of food? Is it that you don't want any food? Because sometimes there's certain foods we don't desire, and that's okay. Sometimes we have cravings for certain types of food, and that's okay. It's okay to have preferences. And if you're having trouble with all foods in general, that you just don't want any food, again, asking, is there something that might feel good to you or taste good to you? Seeing if you can find something in a way to fuel your body. It can be a weird textural issue, okay? But other times, if someone was to ask me what I want to eat, my brain goes completely blank. I think eating is stressful because of all the different textures or ways my body responds to foods. So yeah, again, looking if, you said your brain goes blank when asking what to eat, think back to times you've enjoyed eating before and what those foods were, right? Seeing what texture in specific you might want. Just, do I want something hot? Do I want something cold? Do I want something sweet or savory? Do I want something salty? Do I want something a little more bland or sour? Right? Just starting to ask yourself little questions to figure it out. Because if we, aren't feeling hungry, but we know that we probably need food because we haven't eaten very much all day, or we've been exercising a lot, that's where we need to use our higher brain. We can still use our brain in our eating decisions. We don't just have to let our body entirely run the show. We can use our brain to make logical choices too and say, I know I need food right now. What could possibly sound good? What could I get into me right now? Because we want to be doing that so that way, if we're super hungry all the time, we don't want to get strong urges to eat, like binge urges to eat because we're not fueling ourselves. So we want to make sure we're getting in that regular fuel. All right, so we'll start to wrap up today. So again, if anyone came late, There's going to be no coffee chats next week because I'm going to be at a hypnosis conference in Vegas, which I am super duper excited for. I am going to be learning lots of new brain techniques to bring you and my clients. So no coffee chats next week, but we will resume the week after that and every future Tuesday. So I would love to see you next week. The Zoom link it's always the same, so you can save the Zoom link. Otherwise, I always send out a reminder to my email list an hour before so you can come and join. And I would love to see you again. If you have any other questions, feel free to email me or message me on Instagram. And I'll see you guys in a few weeks. Bye.